Hello there people, welcome back. I apologize for this video, one, being so late, and two, for it being such a long duration between my last video upload and this one. I'm having problems with my camera. I have a camcorder that the sound's no longer working on, so after trying to film this video like 3 times and not having any sound, I decided to go to a little point and shoot my wife has. So if there's a decrease in quality, I apologize for that as well. I'm hoping to get my camera issues sorted out shortly. And so this is going to be my November wrap-up. I understand that, you know, it is the middle of December. Like I said, I've been trying for about a week now to get this film, and it just hasn't happened. I apologize for that, but let's just jump right in. First book I read in November was Death Troopers by Joe Schreiber. This is a zombie Star Wars mashup. If I was to look at it critically, it's not a very good book. I would probably only rate it 2.5 stars. The plot line's very flat, the characters are very flat, the writing's not horrible but not great. But I still enjoyed it. If you're a zombie and a Star Wars fan and the idea of combining both of those make you giddy inside, I would suggest reading it. Joe Schreiber's written 2 of these. The other one's Red Harvest, which is kind of a prequel. That one I thought was a lot better. I think he kind of tweaked a couple of ideas that he was working on in Death Troopers, and it worked a lot better as a book. My first book, the second book, and I actually listened to this, and I listened to most of it in October. Yeah, October, but finished it in November. It's the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. This was my 3rd work of Sherlock Holmes that I have. I've actually listened to them all, but it was Study in Scarlet and Sign of the Four. This was my first short story collection. I had a hard time kind of coming to terms with Sherlock in the books, because the only Sherlock I had been introduced to prior to the books was the TV and movies, and it was a little bit different. But I think finally about halfway through Memoirs I kind of accepted it for what it was, and even though there's things I don't like about it, it's still very enjoyable. I would rate that one a solid, I guess like 3.5, 4 stars. That was also my first short story work that I've ever gone through, so that was kind of exciting. Then I went on to Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. This is the first in a sci-fi trilogy that he did. I can't give you a rating for this book because honestly I'm going to have to finish out the trilogy to have a good opinion. I'm halfway through the second book and I finally just decided to walk away for a little bit and come back. It's well written. I still don't know quite what it's like, what the story is. There doesn't seem to be any, it just seems to kind of be like a flowery, detailed telling of this guy's observations as he goes to other planets. I'm not really for sure. There's not much in it that makes me want to keep reading it, if that makes sense. But I do want to finish it out, namely because like all the books are like this big, or the next 2 are a little bit bigger, but not much, so it's not like it's a lot of reading. And then I listened to Strange Tales from the Hills by Rudyard Kipling. So this was technically my 2nd work of short stories. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love Kipling. He's just he's one of my favorite authors. He writes so well, and the short stories are just very well done. They're all centered around British people in India for the most part, and Kipling seemed to have such a deep understanding of human nature that you're not really for sure if it's humorous or satirical, or if he's just kind of exposing human nature for what it is. But I would very highly recommend that. I would rate that 4.5 stars. It's very good. Then I read Call of the Wild and White Fang by Jack London. I'd never read any Jack London before, even though I'd assumed I was going to like it. I'd seen the movie White Fang as a kid and enjoyed it. I read Call of the Wild and thoroughly enjoyed it. I would give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. It was, you know, it's only like 90 pages, so it didn't take me long to go through it. Then I read White Fang, and White Fang, it was incredible. It just absolutely blew me away. The story, how beautifully it was written, what the story represented. I cannot wait to do a video discussing White Fang because it was incredible. I know this was on my December TBR, but I filmed that a couple of days before the end of November, and then I ended up flying back home over Thanksgiving. There was a death in my wife's family. So that's when I read Call of the Wild and White Fang. I was on the trip, the flight down there. On the flight back, I read Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, and thoroughly enjoyed it as well. This is another book I want to talk about. I'd give it a solid 4 out of 5 stars. It was well written. The story was very engaging. I flew through it. It was a very enjoyable book. I still, in my opinion, there were several things that I thought Ernest Cline was trying to do, several points he was trying to make, and stuff he was trying to illustrate that I thought he kind of half-assed. And maybe he wasn't trying to, but it seemed like he was, and then failed at it. So that's really my biggest critique against the book, but still, I'd recommend it to people. It was a very fun read. It's definitely one I want to reread in a year or two. I finished up my November reading, which, I mean, all in all, was pretty good. I read 2 collections of short stories, 4 novels, and then like a novella. So that's actually a pretty good November, a pretty good month's reading for me. And like I said, having to fly back to Texas and having those 2 days where I could just read was like blissful, especially considering I was reading like White Fang and Ready Player One, both of which I thoroughly enjoyed. So again, I apologize very deeply for the inconsistency with the videos getting put up. I apologize if this is lower quality. Hopefully I'll be able to work out the issues with my camera and get on a little bit more consistent uploading pattern for y'all. But thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see y'all next time.